roll.
I have another packet here.
Someone have a tea? No.
Yeah, keep up on that weekend.
We're good. We're on. We've been on for a while. We've got about 90 seconds.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, folks, I think we're ready to start. Thank you all for being here. I know. So thank you all for being here. My name is Kim Kramer. I'm the president of the Huntington Beach Downtown Residents Association. And before we get started, I wanted to do some announcements. I wanted to make some introductions. The first thing I wanted to do is I wanted to introduce the HBDRA Board of Directors. So with the HBDRA Board of Directors, please raise their hands so everyone can see you. Okay. That right there is John Acapora. This is Althea Santucci. This is Gloria Alvarez. Whereas right there is Lois Friedman. And Chris Hart, Sue Hart are on vacation. They're not here. The HBDRA was founded in 1994. Lois Friedman was a founding member of the HBDRA. Gloria Alvarez is the city's chair of the Historic Resources Board. And I've been serving for the last 6 months on the City of Huntington Beach Downtown Public Safety and Residential Quality of Life Task Force. You have some flyers that we handed out. You know, I'm not a professional public speaker, so bear with me. If I start talking too quickly, just someone go like this and I'll slow down. If you can't hear me, let me know as well. You have some flyers. One of the flyers you have is for an event we're calling Meet the Chief. I don't know how many of you realize, but as of December 7th, we have a new police chief in town. His name is Rob Handy. HBDRA has met with him on many, many occasions. I think we're all going to be very pleased at the job that he does as our new police chief. And on March 5th, we are going to have an event for him at the Arts Center. And it will be a Meet the Chief event. There will be some introductions. There will be lots of city people there. I would imagine that most of our city council members will be there. And we will have a little reception. We're going to have a Q&A so that you can ask questions of the police chief. And then we're going to take a break. We'll have refreshments, and then you can mingle and just kind of meet the chief one-on-one in a kind of a more social environment. So, I guess we want to talk about permit parking downtown. I will tell you, as I start to fall apart, I will tell you that permit parking is coming to downtown. Like it, hate it, it is happening. We have a downtown task force. Oh, excuse me for disappearing for a moment. We have a downtown task force that meets every 2 weeks. And they've already voted at the last meeting that they are going to recommend to the city council that the area in downtown known as the coastal zone be changed so that we can have permit parking inside the coastal zone. The reason we want to have permit parking, there's a lot of reasons why, but the primary reason we want to have permit parking is because many of us are tired of the late night bar crowd parking in our neighborhoods, coming back to their cars at 2 o'clock in the morning, causing all sorts of trouble. This audience is filled with people that live on 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. I think the people on 7th, 8th, and 9th know it really, really well. These late night bar patrons, I'm being kind of nice, these late night bar patrons are causing all sorts of havoc. They've been doing it for years. They come to our neighborhoods, they park in our neighborhood, they drink in their cars, they go downtown, they come back, they create all sorts of problems, all sorts of noise, all sorts of trash that we're tired of picking up. So without going into too much detail, I think everyone really kind of understands the issue. That is the primary reason why we're looking at doing residential parking. Now, there are 14 current permit parking zones in Huntington Beach. They range from the smallest, I think, being about 11 or 12, and the largest being 333. Of the 14 parking zones, the average number of residences in the parking zones is 84. So this is not something new. The city has an ordinance in place. They've had it in place for years. And permit parking is done in 14 places, and we can do it anytime we want in downtown. The reason that I know for a fact that permit parking is coming to your street is because we have residents who are prepared to do this. We have residents who are fed up. We have residents who are ready to say, you know what, I'm doing this for my block. The problem is that if you have residents do this on an individual basis with their block, there are rules they have to follow. It's not overly difficult. You have to get 67% of your neighbors to agree. They sign a piece of paper, lo and behold, signs go up, they get parking permits, and it's done. The problem on an individual basis is that we have people, for example, you might end up with a parking zone on the first block of 7th Street. Then you have one on the 4th block of 7th Street and the 3rd block of 8th Street. Then you have one on blocks 4 and 5 of 5th Street. Well, you can't park in any of those, and it becomes a hodgepodge. And the person on the first block of 7th Street wants his parking zone from 24 hours. And the next guy wants it from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. And the next guy wants it. So it gets really complicated and very difficult for the city to coordinate. It also gets very difficult for people to park and for guests to park. So it makes a lot more sense to have a permit parking zone for the entire downtown neighborhood that's consistent, that works for everybody. It makes sense. So the HBDRA has been talking about this since 2010. Now that the task force is in place and the task force is supporting, the downtown task force is supporting residential parking, I realized it was time for the HBDRA to step up again and see if we can do this as a community. There are people in this room that don't want residential parking. There are people in this room that don't understand it. There are people in this room that don't want to pay for it. We took a survey of the residents on 7th, 8th, and 9th Street, which we consider to be the big impact streets. And we knocked on doors. If you answered your door, we spent 5, 10, whatever it took, okay, talking to you. We didn't try to convince you of what we thought you should do. We were completely neutral, and we had a questionnaire. That questionnaire was approved by our city council and approved by the city's department transportation manager. It was very impartial. And we asked, you know, what do you want to do? Well, we need 67%. I'll tell you in a minute. 84% of the people that we surveyed said yes, that they want permit parking. 16% said no. It's kind of a done deal. So what are we doing here? It's already kind of already 84% is pretty good. The problem was, of those 84%, 45% said, no way am I paying for it. And so we started to talk to those people. And we said, well, why? It's pretty inexpensive. It's not that big of a deal. And the answer that I got most often wasn't really more of a sense of what I could afford or what I couldn't afford. It was more of a sense of outrage. Why am I paying for this? The city caused the problem. Well, understand, and we're going to give everyone an opportunity to ask questions and make comments. But the real concern was, why should we pay for this? We already pay taxes. The city caused this problem. And I understand that. I represent the Huntington Beach Downtown Residents Association. I do not represent myself. If I represented myself, I'd be standing right next to those people that said, I'll be damned if I'm going to pay for it. But I'm not. We are trying to do this as a community, and we're trying to see if we can come up with a compromise with the city that will satisfy everyone, or the vast majority of people. You can't satisfy everyone. The vast majority of people, because this is coming. Okay, it is coming. You cannot stop it. It may not be universal. It may not be through the entire area, but it's going to cause problems if we have residents that start doing this on their own. So the HBDRA has done a lot of research on this. We talked to a lot of people, and we came up with a plan. So I want to share with you what the plan is, and then we're going to talk about it, and we'll have some questions, some answers, and some concerns. So let me first tell you about how the program currently works. You already know that if you want residential parking in your neighborhood, and you live on the second block in on 8th Street, you got 25 homes in that block. You go to your 25 neighbors, you try to get 67%. Actually, we've been warned you might want to get about 75%, because some people change their mind. Some people feel uncomfortable saying no to a neighbor, but they'll say no when the actual formal petition comes by for the city. that's it. You've got residential parking. You determine what hours you want. And now your block, nobody can park on it except you. So what do you get? You get, if you get a parking permit. It could be a hang tag, or it could be a static clean decal, whichever you want, or a combination. If you have 2 cars, you're going to get, and you always get 2 parking passes for guests. I'm sorry, you have 2 guest passes. So you get a parking permit, and with that parking permit, you get 2 guest passes. If you have 2 cars, which a lot of people do, you need 2 permits. It's going to cost you $26. Now, how many in this room can afford $26 a month for a parking permit? Excuse me, I apologize. How many can afford $26 a year for a parking permit? Okay, well, I got good news for you guys. It's not $26 a month. I was teasing. It's not $26 a year. $26 for 2 parking permits is going to cover you for 5 years. Okay? That's pretty cheap. But there, I mean, that's about $5 a year. It's all going to get billed once, up front, for the entire 5 years. Now, the HBDRA wants to make sure that we don't get burned. So in the proposal that we're going to give to the city, in the vote that you're going to make tonight, should we all agree that this is what we want to do, we have some caveats in there. And one of the caveats is they can't raise the price for 5 years. If they do decide after 5 years to raise the price, then they've got to raise it according to some established index, like the Consumer Price Index. They can't just double it or triple it at their whim. It has to tie into something that makes sense, so that we don't get stuck paying $26 for the first 5 years, then $126 for the next 5 years. So we've got that in our proposal. We're going to ask the city to change their ordinance. We're going to ask them to change their ordinance to accommodate the downtown residents. And then the question becomes, well, what about the other 14 zones? Really? I mean, we're going to do something special for the downtown residents? Well, we're going to find the rationale. We've already kind of had that covered. We're going to find the rationale to do that will allow the downtown residents to be special, to be different than all of the other parking zones. We believe that we have a public safety issue. We believe that we have a nuisance issue that is extremely unique to downtown, that doesn't exist anywhere else in the city. All these other parking zones are basically, oh, I've got a church, I can't park between 7 and 9. I've got a school, I can't park. I've got City Hall, I can't park. They're mostly for parking convenience. I don't think there's a parking zone that exists because we have late night drunks coming into our neighborhood and leaving trash and making noise and waking us up. So that's one of the things. Now, here's the problem. The problem is, the city also wants to charge us about $40 to set it up, on top of the 27. So, as part of the HBDRA proposal, we're going to ask them to pick up the $40. As residents, we'll pick up the 26, let them pick up the $40. Our first approach with the city, which I thought would be pretty successful, our first approach with the city was, just pick it up, guys. Just pay for it all. We don't want to pay for any of it. I think that might fly. I think that might fly. But you only got one shot at this. You can't keep going back to the city council every week. Okay, but oh no, they turned that down. Let's change the proposal. So I thought the best thing to do was compromise. Ask the people who are standing on principle to step off their principle for a moment, compromise for the good of the community, so we can have one major parking zone in downtown Huntington Beach, and get rid of all of the late night stuff that happens in our neighborhood. Governments, if you take a look at what's happening in Washington, D.C., everybody knows that if you want to get something done, compromise is the answer, not gridlock. The city council is going to vote on this. They vote on all zoning, parking zones. If we go to them with a compromise, and we go to them with 150 signatures from this room that all say, yes, this is what we vote for, and I didn't say on the petition you're going to sign, I didn't say my vote is registered below for your consideration. I said your vote is registered below for your action. We don't expect them to consider this. We expect our city council to act on it. This is what the community wants. This will not be the first meeting that we have. There'll be other meetings before we go to the city council, okay, and make this request. This is how we get things done at the HBDRA. This is how we save the Main Street Library and Triangle Park. We got the community together, we walked in with solidarity, whether it was in person, whether it was through a petition, and we basically said, this is what the community wants. Okay, you need to listen to the community. So, if we can step off of that principle for a moment, for the sake of compromise, we're going to get a gated community without the gates. And we're going to get all of the late night people out of our neighborhoods. It's going to do a couple things for us that'll help the city as well. The people that park in our neighborhoods, and by the way, well, I'll tell you that in a minute, but the people that park in our neighborhoods rather than parking in the downtown parking structure, for example, do so because they don't want to pay. I mean, we know this for a fact, they just don't want to pay. Some people park in our neighborhoods because they want to drink first or do drugs first, in their car or by their car. Some people don't want to park in the parking structure because they're bad guys. And bad guys don't want to park in a parking structure because there's only one exit. And they believe that on that exit, when they pull out, the cops are waiting for them. Okay? So we believe that if we can get them out of our neighborhoods, we're going to take a bunch of bad people, and they're not going to come to downtown Huntington Beach anymore on a Saturday night to drink. They're going to find another place to go, because what choice are they going to have? They can't park in our neighborhood. If we can't drive them out by going to 12th Street, we'll go to 13th Street. That doesn't work, we'll go to 14th Street. We'll go to Alabama, we'll go to Huntington, we'll go to wherever it takes, where these guys say, you know what, I'm not walking that far. The city has agreed to clean up the parking lot downtown. They've agreed to put in new lighting. They've agreed to paint all the walls white, so it'll have fresh new paint, bright white paint that'll be reflective. Try to make it safer, try and get rid of the urine smell that's there. That parking lot has 830 spaces. During the summer, on a Saturday night, you've got 400 spaces empty because they're in our neighborhoods. It will improve your property values. Try selling your house when they find out that at 2 o'clock in the morning, okay, what goes on. The people on 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, we feel the brunt of it. I'm sure there are people on 12th Street and 11th Street and 10th Street that also get some impact. We've talked to people on 9th Street, on 8th Street, said, no, I don't hear a thing. I'm quiet, not a problem. I scratch my head, but that's okay. When 7th Street, 8th Street, and 9th Street get residential parking, trust me, 10th, 11th, and 12th are going to be the new 7th, 8th, and 9th. This is a pushback. This is one of the reasons why we have to have a comprehensive program. You cannot allow the people on 7th Street to put in residential parking because it puts too much pressure on 8th and 9th and 10th. So if we do this as a community, we can make it really good, okay, for all the downtown residents. I just have to get past this money issue. I got to get past this principle issue, which I personally understand completely. So let me read you the proposal that I've come up with. And this is where we're all going to vote. And after I do this, we'll open up the floor to some questions. So when you see this voting slip, you're going to see there's some information in red and some information in black. The red information is ours. The black information is the city's. So the first thing in red says,
Yeah, just to be clear, they don't have that.
yeah, I'm sorry, you do not have this. This will be put out when we're all done, so you can vote. Okay, I don't want to, you know, all middle of all. Okay. So, the setup costs will be paid for by the city. That's the first change we want to make. The rest of this now that I'm going to read is the city's ordinance that exists today. $26 for the first permit with 2 guest passes. $6 for each additional permit with a maximum of 4 permits per address. So the maximum you'll pay is $41. The minimum you'll pay is $26. That'll get you 2 guest permits and 1 parking pass for $26 and $6 for everyone thereafter. People ask, well, what am I going to do if I have guests over? Well, we need, right now, if you have guests over, you've got to run down the city hall and you've got to tell them you've got to pick up free parking passes for 24 hours. That's not going to work. Has to be online, has to be free. So part of our proposal is free online access to 24-hour guest passes. That's a must. Coastal zone. We have people that live in the coastal zone. Do you guys know what the coastal zone is? It's the area that is around, close to the coast. Actually, the Main Street Branch Library is in the coastal zone. It's a very weird map, But the coastal zone covers a lot of downtown, and there's a lot of residents that live in the coastal zone. Some people thought this sounded like a NIMBY issue for the HBDRA, but I'll explain this, the HBDRA board, and I'll explain this in a minute. Right now, there will be no permit parking allowed in the coastal zone. The California Coastal Commission does not allow it. If we want to get parking, permit parking, even metered parking in the coastal zone, it's going to take, what, Dan, 2 years before it goes through the Coastal Commission? If they will even approve it. The Coastal Commission is set up to protect access to the beach. They do not like anything that prevents access to the beach. So we don't even know, the people in the coastal zone, whether or not we'll ever get permit parking. So for the people in the coastal zone, life's going to become worse. Because not only will 7th, 8th, and 9th push it that way, but it's also going to push it to 6th, which is a major artery inside the coastal zone with a lot of people living on 6th Street. Here's the interesting part for those of you that might think this is a NIMBY issue for the HBDRA Board of Directors. Every single member of the HBDRA board lives in the coastal zone. Our lives are going to get miserable when we do this. We had one of our HBDRA members, Mike, you are here, went out at 1:15 in the morning at my request, because I'm too old and I can't stay up that late, to check out the parking downtown. By coincidence, he happened to see my street and told me on Saturday night, my street, okay, which is 6th Street, it's actually Pecan, but it's right by 6th Street, was 65% full. Trust me, that's not going to happen anymore if we've been in permit parking. So this is good for the community. We support it. We hope you will support it. It will save us a lot of hassle if people start doing this themselves. Some other stuff. The 5 years I mentioned is an option with the city. The city ordinance says the parking permits could be up to 5 years. Well, one of the changes that we're making is that we want this for 5 years. We don't want to get stung and all of a sudden find out, oh, it's only for 2 years. We want this for 5 years. That's what we're signing, that's what we're voting on. Also, I put in there that cost increases, if any, will only occur once every 5 years and be based generally on a generally accepted index such as the CPI. Now let's talk about the hours. It's the last thing I want to talk about, and then I'll open up for questions. The hours that we've discussed with the residents, that we've come up with, is 10 p.m. to 5 a.m., 7 days a week. The reason we did 7 days a week, why not? Make it simple, make it easy. Why do I want to go, Friday and Saturday this? I mean, so we got together, we talked to a lot of people, said 7 days a week is easy. Who can refute or petition a citation? $61, by the way, citation. Okay, that's going to be a heavy price for people to pay that violate this parking permit. So we decided that 7 days a week was clean and easy and makes sense. Then we said 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. The beach opens at 5 a.m. That was an easy decision. 10 p.m. because we wanted to make sure a couple things. We didn't want to be obstructive to people that want to go to the beach. A lot of us live downtown, and we all move downtown, and we know that we have a beach close by. This is who we are. We're a beach community. This is how we make our living. We don't want to do anything that might interfere with the beach traffic. When people park in front of my house on a Saturday at 12 o'clock and I can't find a parking space, well, that's just, it's the beach. I mean, what are we going to do about that? It's just the beach. We don't want to do things about the beach. It's proper to have people come to our city. We have 15 million visitors come to our city for our beaches. Take that away, make it difficult for them. It's a horrible thing to do for our brand and for our city. So we figured it's the late night bars that we want to get rid of. It's the late night bars that we want to get rid of their drunks and all the other problems. So we figured 10 o'clock. Well, we have people parking in front of our house, for example, at 6 o'clock. And they drink in their cars and they go downtown. I think that's going to stop. I think that people are going to look at that sign and say, ooh, do I really want to park here and then have to come back at 9:45 to move my car? So I think 10 o'clock probably works. This was not, again, these decisions were made from talking to a lot of people. So that's our parking program. We're going to make a recommendation to the City Council that we start with 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, from Palm to Walnut. I can't do that first block, it's in the coastal zone. I can't do 6th Street or Pecan in the coastal zone. So we figure we'll start with the heart of, right in the center, and you'll see it on the map. You'll see a red area, which corresponds to the red area in the map. Then you're going to see... Oh.
We don't have that paper.
You don't, but you will when you vote. Well, you know, I'm sorry. You know what, guys? Let's do this. I think you made a really good point. Let's John and Gloria, can you come up and can you pass these out? I think it's a good idea. Let's get these in the hands of everybody. Then we'll have some questions and answers. I also wanted to point out that I see that we have our city attorney in the audience. Would you all turn around and say hello to Jennifer McGrath, our city attorney. Thank you, Jennifer, for being here. Jennifer is not required to be here. She's here in her own personal time. She's here because she cares about our city and she cares about our downtown residents. And it's also nice that she's here because sometimes there are questions that only our city attorney can answer. So, let me put the microphone down for a moment and say thank you, Jennifer, for being here on your own personal time. Very much appreciate it. While I'm there, we also have Planning Commissioner Dan Kalmick here as well. Okay, so basically while that's being handed out, when the meeting is over, I'm going to ask everyone to, I'm going to ask everyone to vote on this. If you change anything, if you cross out the hours from 10 to 5 and put 9 to 4 or something of that nature, obviously your vote can't count. We're looking for an up or down vote on this proposal. And now, I think I'm done and opening up to questions, but give me one moment to make sure I didn't miss anything. Guys, I think we want to open up to questions now, so if anyone has any questions, yes ma'am.
I own a house and I have 3 cars and I rent my rooms out.
Okay.
So now, how am I supposed to get them the rental pass? And then if we have someone over, we're supposed to give them a pass and then they bring us the pass back?
Well, I'm a little bit confused. I guess the question, did everyone hear the question? Okay. Up here. And also, when you ask your question, if you state your name and just what street you're on, if you're on one of the non-numbered streets, just say, I live on Palm between 7th and 8th, so we'll know what neighborhood you're in.
My name is Sunny, and I own a house on 9th and Olive. And my question is I have 3 cars, and I rent 2 rooms out.
2 more cars?
2 more cars.
5 cars.
5 cars. Okay, now, what if the roommate only stays for 6 months? Now, they've got to keep going back and getting a pass. What if we each have a friend over at 11 o'clock at night? We give them the parking pass, then we have to go back out to the car to retrieve it? And I'm more concerned about the beach parking than I am at the night parking.
Guys, first of all, let me do the easy one first. Let me talk about the beach parking. Everything we do here tonight has to be voted on by the city council. We can't walk away and say we want to eliminate the beach parking. It will never work. The city council will not vote for it. Do we have any attorneys back here? Any litigators in the audience? If you're an attorney, if you're a litigator, you work by a rule. Never ask a question that you don't already know the answer to. Never go to the city council when you're not pretty darn confident that they're going to vote your way. You don't get to do this every week to the city council. The city council, I can promise you, will not support limiting access to the beach for anybody. So you move to a beach community, I don't know what to tell you. This program is not going to. Oh my, really? Yeah. This parking proposal is not going to solve all of our problems. It's not going to be loved by everybody. Right now, we need 67%. Even if we get 85% or 90%, there's 10% of the people that are not going to be happy. It's just the way it works. I mean, think about the other parking zones in the neighborhood. You get 67, I will come to you next. We get 67% of the people, and then 33% of the, I'll come to you after, are not happy. So we can't solve all the problems. In terms of your house, you're going to get 4 hang tags for your car, and you're going to get 2 permanent parking passes. So you can cover 6 cars. The permanent parking passes, the guest passes are permanent. They're good for 5 years. Give those to your guests. You got 5 cars covered. If you have guests come over for dinner and they're going to be there past 10 o'clock at night,
But then you've got to get the pass back?
you have to you have to go through that inconvenience of walking your guests out to the car or having them come back.
In the morning, you've got to go get your pass back.
Yeah, that's correct. You're gonna be inconvenienced. They can do lots of things. Look, I suspect that you might be one of the people that votes no. I imagine there'll be several people that vote no. I'm gonna get Herb, and I'm gonna grab Herb real quickly, so then I'll come down. So yes, you were next. I'm sorry, your name is?
Can you stand up or something?
Thank you.
Everyone's got to stand up and be loud.
Like you, Stephen?
Hi, my name is Lane, and I live on 18th between PCH and Walnut. And you mentioned that the first block is kind of exempt because that's in coastal zone. Okay, sorry, is that better? Okay. Is it just the first block that isn't involved because it's in the coastal zone? Isn't that whole area in the coastal zone?
The coastal zone is a U shape. It takes the first block, which is PCH, that first row of houses on PCH are in the coastal zone. So Walnut, all the way up and all the way down in the coastal zone. Then the coastal zone goes all the way down 6th Street to Main Street. That's in the coastal zone. Pecan, in front of the library, is in the coastal zone. Then the coastal zone goes up Main Street for more blocks than you could possibly imagine, to a point where you go, why is this in the coastal zone? It's not, I mean, it's so far away from the beach, it doesn't even make sense. It's the way the Coastal Commission has mapped it out. It's a huge, huge area. And those people probably, if I was a betting man, I would say that people in the coastal zone are never going to get permit parking. But we're going to try. But it'll be years from now before they happen. So she was still going to ask a follow-up question.
Both sides of Walnut coastal zone, or just?
No, just one side of Walnut, yes.
I guess I just was wondering how we'll be impacted then if everybody else gets permit parking and the first block's going to take all the heat. I mean, I just was wondering if the first block off of PCH all the way up doesn't get any permit parking and everybody else does, we're going to really take it in the shorts.
The coastal zone people are not going to be, well, first of all, the coastal zone people are going to be able to buy permits. So again, speaking for myself, sometimes I can't find a parking space during Saturday because people are at the beach. I park on the next street over. I'll have a permit to do that, so I don't have to run back at 9:45 in the evening to get my car back. It's not a perfect system, guys. It's just not a perfect system. Hang on one moment. I want to introduce our Mayor Pro Tem. If you take a look behind you, standing next to our city attorney is Mayor Pro Tem Joe Shaw. Thank you, Joe, for being here. Once again, you know, this is not a requirement for our city elected officials to be here at all. They're here because they care about our city. They're here in their own personal time. I promised you that you'd be next. Come on.
Thank you. I'm Kim. Can you hear me? Yes. I'm at 11th Street, and I understand what you're saying about not being able to take the beach, per se, parking away. But I would argue that the 2 weeks, and tell me if you agree, during US Open kind of fits the criteria of what you're talking about.
I agree. Yeah, the U.S. Open has historically been a disaster for the downtown residents. I have seen the new plans for the U.S. Open. And I will tell you, the U.S. Open has been reduced significantly. The footprint of the U.S. Open is now about 25% of what it was before. There's no more free music. There's no more free giveaways. They understand that they're surfing, and they need to go back to a more adult crowd, and they're doing everything that they can to eliminate all the junk that was attracting all those young kids who cause trouble, create riots, and don't spend any money in our town. That U.S. Open is going to be a public, I've already seen the plans because I'm on the downtown task force. They're wonderful. I mean, they're absolutely wonderful. You'll be blown away when you see them. But that's also in a public forum. That's going to go before the Special Events Committee, and they're going to vote on it. That's going to be available to you guys to go ahead and look. You could also contact the city and just say, look, I'd like to see the plans. Go on, if you go on the website for the city, you can probably look up Downtown Task Force, and the plans will probably be there, and you'll be amazed. I mean, this thing has been reduced significantly, so I don't think the U.S. Open is going to be a problem anymore. And it's also great branding for us when they move it back to surfing. And then, now guys, I'm going to put you on hold for 1 second because our Mayor Pro Tem wanted to say a few words to the audience. So let me introduce him, Joe Shaw, our Mayor Pro Tem.
I just wanted to share a few things with you about what we've done for downtown and what's going on in downtown from the city perspective. As many of you may have remembered me from my store, California Greetings Downtown, that I have downtown. And I've been very focused on downtown issues ever since I was the one that came up with the idea of closing down Main Street on Tuesday nights. That's probably the most family-friendly event we have in downtown Huntington Beach. We need more things like that downtown. But let me tell you what we've done. Previous councils weren't able to do this, but we have changed the conditions of use downtown for many of our bars and restaurants. If any new bars and restaurants open, they have to go by the new rules. So they can't stay open past midnight, and there's various other rules, but that's a good rule right there. The other thing is we've put a moratorium on all packaged liquor stores downtown in the zone downtown. We've done that. So I think the permit parking is a really good third piece of stuff that we can do. Now the reasons why I'm telling you that is because it's going to keep people from parking in your neighborhoods and doing these things that they say they're going to do if you have permit parking. You guys have to decide for yourself whether you want to inconvenience yourselves to do that, whether it's going to work for you or not. You can do that on a block-by-block basis. One block can have permit parking and another can. I think it would be a very good tool. But I just also want you to know that now the Downtown Task Force is getting ready to come up with all of its recommendations. And I want you to know I'm going to be looking very strongly at those recommendations. If they haven't adopted strong enough standards, I'm going to ask them to do stronger standards. And I'm also looking at things that other cities have done that the Downtown Task Force didn't. So we're going to do some more things to protect your neighborhood, because downtown is a neighborhood. Everyone talks about downtown this, downtown that. Well, downtown is a neighborhood where people live, and we have to remember that. And we don't always remember that. The rest of the city doesn't remember that. So we have to keep reminding them. I'm up here all by myself now.
Is there any way to do something about making the parking more friendly and instructions, like lower the price, have a free day, or get people to park?
We just talked about doing that at the...
No one goes there.
We just talked about that.
When can we do something?
I use the parking garage a lot.
Yeah.
And it's always got a good, fair number of people in it. But what we want to do is we want to increase the safety, increase the lighting. We're going to be doing stuff like that. Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. I think this whole issue. All right. Can you hear me?
Yes.
My name's Todd. I live off of 10th and Olive, and I've been here since 1999. I've seen tons of crowds of people go by on the weekends drunk, they've bashed in my fence, they've stole their flags. I've seen them break neighbors' pots and stuff. And these aren't people that park here. They're people who live down the street. And not only that, sorry, I'm all worked up. They knock down stop signs. I follow these people. They live in houses. They have groups of friends at their houses. They go walk get to the Main Street, get drunk, and walk back and pee in the alleys, break stuff, and are very annoying. I don't think it's a car issue where there is a small percent of people who park their cars, and some do leave a mess of bottles and stuff, and it's annoying, but we just clean it up. But the majority of what I see happening is they live down the street, or they live in the other apartments or in houses, and they have groups of friends.
Guys, let me just address that for a moment, okay? I agree with you that we have multiple problems downtown. We have late night bar patrons. I'll go ahead and get to you next. We have late night bar patrons parking in our neighborhoods. We have residents that are living in our neighborhoods that are causing problems. And we have late night employees that are parking in our neighborhoods. This residential parking program is not going to solve all of our problems. But if we get the parkers, the people with their cars coming in, that parking in our neighborhoods, if we get rid of them, okay, then what's left? Well, then whatever is left is a smaller entity that we can focus on, that the police can focus on as well. And if it's the people that are causing trouble that live here, well, at least we know it's people that live here, and we know how to deal with that. Right now, we got a hodgepodge, employees, people from out of town, neighboring communities. In terms of your comment about parking and making the parking structure cheaper or free, guys, if we put residential parking in the entire residential community, where are they going to park? They have no choice. They have to either leave or they got to park in the public parking. They will have no choice. Or the first block. Now the first and second blocks have meters, and we're changing the meter timing. The first and second block, First Street and Second Street, I'm sorry, First Street and Second Street have meters. Guys, we cannot solve all the problems. We're trying to take a bite out of the apple. This is a great start. It's, like I said before, it's happening. So the question is, do you want it to happen piecemeal, with one guy doing this block, another guy doing this block, another guy doing that block, where you can't park, one guy doing one set of hours, one guy doing another set of hours, or do you want to work together as a community and you want to set up a parking so at least we can eliminate that problem? Let's get rid of the people that are parking their cars in our neighborhoods late at night causing problems. Doesn't solve everything, but it solves one big huge problem. I promise that gentleman right there.
Took your survey.
Come on.
You can hear me.
Yeah. Would you state your name and where you live, please?
I'm on 9th Street.
Thank you.
In the 500 block.
Got it.
When you took the survey door to door, what % of people answered their doors and you got surveys from? If there was 15 houses, how many people did you acknowledge?
We got a little bit over 100 surveys back.
Out of how many houses?
3 streets? I don't know. It took us an hour to do 5 people. So it was a long process. So we spent about 20, 30 hours doing it.
You're not telling me anything. I'm telling you what percentage of the houses.
I don't know the total. I don't know the total number.
60% represent only 40% of the houses.
But we're here now. So what's your tell me. So direct it more towards the parking issue. We're here now as a group, a community. Do you like the parking or do you not like the parking proposal?
I do not like the parking.
Okay, tell me why.
I don't think we can. We're in the 500 block at 9th Street. We don't have the kind of significant problems that you're talking about. Now, people down on the 6th Street and maybe 7th Street, and I feel sorry for the people in the first and second block of the beach parking, there's a problem. So I don't think you penalize the whole area because we have a situation.
These are not, understand, these are not my rules. This is the city ordinance. The city ordinance says that 67% of the people, they vote yes, you got it. 33% of the people vote no, you got it. So this is, I'm sorry, no, not on my survey. My survey was a survey from the HBDRA. I'm talking about a gentleman who doesn't want residential parking in his neighborhood. And what I'm saying is unfortunately, the city ordinance is written in such a way that it's not his decision. The decision is going to be based upon the majority of people, 2/3 of the people of his block say yes, they want it. It's done.
When's the vote?
Well, the vote's going to happen as soon as somebody comes up with a parking program. We have a proposal that covers, hang on a second, we have a proposal that covers the entire downtown community. If this proposal is adopted and we can bring this to the city council and we can get support from the residents, then this will be the parking program. If this proposal is not supported, okay, then basically everyone's on their own.
So when you say not supported, how do you judge supported and not supported?
Because you're going to vote. At the bottom of this form, you're going to vote, yes, I agree, no, I do not agree.
And that's these people. How about the rest of the people?
Guys, we're going to have lots of community meetings. This is our first meeting. We're going to test the waters. We're going to see what we have. I expect, as a result of this meeting, that we're going to get a lot of support for a parking program. We only need 6-7%. So we shall see what we get. You're opposed to it. You're going to vote no. Understand? Hang on one second. This gentleman. That's a good idea. Guys, you know what? Those people with questions, I'm going to give the mic to you in a moment. Why don't we line up over there? Anyone with a question, that way it'll make it a lot more organized and you can come up. That way everyone will be in line. Ma'am, if you want to If you can stand in line and ask your question.
He keeps saying that we need 67%.
12 people.
I have estimated that there are approximately 1,000 residences in the area that they have blocked off in their little map there. With 1,000 residences there, I don't see any way this group can say that's 67% of it. You have to get your thing out to the whole ones. You looked at 3 blocks and you ignored the last 3 blocks in your area. Why?
I thought you might like it.
I'm Bob Spellmeyer. I live in the 500 block on 12th Street.
The question basically was that we haven't taken a big enough sample. That's why we're having this meeting. I cannot force everyone who lives in the downtown area to come to these meetings. You guys came to this meeting. We're going to listen to what you have to say. We're giving you the opportunity to vote. I don't understand what the problem is, guys. I mean, who else is doing this? Are you doing this? Are you doing this? We're doing this. HBDRA is reaching out to the community. We don't have to do this. We don't have to give up our time to do this. We're reaching out to the community to ask what you think. So please, don't get hostile towards me or HBDRA. We're just trying to find out what the community wants. We're trying to do the best job that we can. We spent over between 20 and 30 man hours knocking on doors on a Saturday afternoon when we could have been home with our families. This is what we do. We're a community organization. We want to hear from the community. What I'm telling you guys is that I know for a fact, okay, maybe when you put out a meeting like this, maybe the people that are against come, and maybe the people that are for don't. Okay, I don't know. We'll find out. But I can tell you, I've talked to enough people that I can almost guarantee you that 7th Street is going to be residential. All of 7th Street is going to be residential permanent parking. Okay? When 7th Street happens, it's going to happen without the HBDRA. There's a gentleman in this room who I will not point out who's going to make this happen. He's an HBDRA member. He's adamant about this. He will make this happen. HBDRA is not getting involved in individual people doing it. When 7th Street is done, I promise you it'll be done quickly. Watch what happens to 8th Street. All the people here at 8th Street say, oh, you know what, I don't want it. Watch what happens. Then it's going to be up to you guys to do it on an individual basis. It's not going to be the HBDRA doing a community program like that. And guys, my wife just pointed out that I need to point out to you guys that this is an HBDRA proposal. I mentioned this before. It all goes to City Council. Nothing's going to happen unless the City Council votes on it. That's their job. That's why Mayor Pro Tem Shaw is here. He wants to hear what people are saying. This is something that the task force is advising to do. We got bigger problems than just our little community. We got a downtown that's falling apart because of too many problems down there. We need to eliminate some of the drunks and some of the bad people that go downtown. This is a big, big issue. This is not just a matter of, well, I'm going to be inconvenienced because I got to get a permit pass. We're trying to make this as easy as possible. These are big, big problems. We got a crime rate in the downtown neighborhood that's 1,350% greater than the rest of Huntington Beach. And these are major, what they call Part 1 crimes, felony crimes, because of what we have in the commercial district late at night. So I'm just trying to do the best job that we can here for the downtown community. Yes, Ken?
Yes, my name's Ken Malone. I've been 17 years on 8th Street. And I thought this was about solving the parking problems in downtown. It's obviously not. It's kind of a wolf in sheep's clothing here. You're using this as a way to social engineer. And you're asking us to pay an extra tax for it. Is that fair? Is that right?
No, but it's all we have.
It's going to be, there are people that feel just like Ken. Ken will vote no. Who will vote yes? Get enough yes votes on 8th Street, and Ken's going to be upset because his neighbors have voted in his block to be in residential parking. Who knows what hours they're going to ask for? Who knows what hours the City Council will approve? Yes, ma'am.
I'm Carlin, I'm on 7th Street. I just got a question, if you could clarify your original point, and I think the first woman commented on, well, if you have, you need guest passes for overnight visitors or, dinner guests. You said something about going online, so if we're able to get 24-hour permits that we can print out at home, then we don't need to go run to their car and retrieve a parking pass. Is that not correct?
Everyone's going to get 2 permanent guest passes. Okay? When you have overnight guests, you could use them or you can print them off. Like you said, just go online, you got 3 guests, print them off, then they're only good for 24 hours. Done deal. So you don't have the inconvenience. Don't give them your permanent guest passes. Go ahead and print them off online for free. Thank you.
My name is Amber. I lived on 8th Street for 10 years, and I now live on Walnut and 10th, and I own another home on 11th and Walnut. This issue, it seems the issue is not parking. I agree with many people. I feel like we're being punished for people being allowed into the neighborhood for a very, very short amount of time. I think what we're talking about is the summer crowd, the weekenders, the US Open crowd, the 4th of July crowd, and these people that are doing drugs and drinking in front of our house are doing something illegal, and us paying for parking is not going to make those people stop doing drugs and drinking alcohol. Like, that's what the cops are for, right?
Yes.
Not what parking passes are.
You're right. The parking passes will not stop people from doing drugs and drinking. It'll just get them out of our neighborhoods. And let them drink and do something else. At night, from 10 p.m. But remember, it's going to be earlier than 10 p.m. I don't think people are going to park in our neighborhoods at 8 p.m. Going downtown knowing that they've got to come back by 10 to move their car or they're going to get a $61 ticket. So the parking zone is from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m., but I think it's going to impact much earlier than 10 p.m. But if you have guests over for dinner, they're allowed to park. You have someone that wants to do drugs in their car, okay? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Rosie, and I live on 10th Street, fifth block on 10th Street. He keeps talking about 67%, and I keep hearing a lot of negativity in here. I just want a straw poll. Who is in favor of this? No, just a straw poll. And who is I'm not in favor of it? Okay.
Thank you. By the way, guys, I'll give you my experience for what it's worth. I've held meetings like this before. People that are against something are usually more vocal than people that are for something. People that are for something sometimes don't show up on meetings. It's why we did that survey and knocked on doors and talked to people. So the straw vote's great, and this vote, if the vote reflects a straw vote, it'll tell us something. But like I said, guys, think about this. For those people that raise their hand no, think about the alternative. The alternative is that if you live on the 3rd block of 7th Street, and the 1st and 2nd and 4th and 5th blocks get permanent parking, think about what that's going to do to your life, and where are you going to park?
Do those individual blocks that you're talking that you do it on?
You know what, and I apologize.
But
If you,
do they-
stop,
but
stop,
do they
stop,
have to go
stop,
through
stop.
the
I gotta
city
interrupt you.
council?
I gotta interrupt. People are waiting in line, so it's fair that they get a chance to speak. If you want to speak, please come and wait in line. I would love to hear from you. But these people have been waiting, so go ahead.
You said that you didn't do any research as to the effects it would have on the outlying areas. I'm just wondering why these lines were chosen, and if you feel bad that you're pretty much pushing all the problems you talked about onto those people.
The problem was that we didn't do any research on how we drew the map, and that do we feel bad that we're pushing the problem out. And the answer is we did do research. No? Well, I must have misspoken or misheard. I mean, we've been working on this since 2010. We've done a lot of research. So the answer is we have done research, and the parking program, if it pushes it out, we're going to push it out so far that the downtown bar patrons, the late night bar patrons, are not going to want to walk that far. If we push it out to Alabama, for example, and we find out that now that's caused huge problems for the people in Huntington, we're going to push it out to Huntington. Same thing if we push out to 14th Street and find out that people on 15th Street are having a problem. We're going to go far enough until such time as the late night bar patrons are not going to want to walk that far. Keep in mind, there's 19,000 municipalities in the United States of America. 8,420 of them have permit parking programs. Okay, the last number I made up. But there's 19,000 municipalities in this country. There are a lot of places. Fountain Valley, okay, San Francisco, Belmont Shores, a lot of cities have permit parking programs. So if you take a look at what other cities have done, are all these cities wrong? Are all these residents suffering? I mean, if you think that we're not going to get residential permit parking in downtown Huntington Beach, you're wrong. It's going to happen. And I would prefer it happen as a community so we can control it and so we can moderate it and we make all the right decisions. But it's going to happen. And so again, for those people those people on the outlying areas, 10th, 11th, and 12th, think about what's going to happen when 7th, 8th, and 9th, and you're not going to have the HBDRA doing it, you're going to have individual people doing it. It's going to be a mess.
Well, first of all, if we're going to have to do this again, if we want to push the street out, why not start a lot wider?
We don't know. We did our research, we made the best judgment, we talked to people. No, but once we get the city council to vote and change the ordinance, then the ordinance is now in place. So now you don't have to do this again. The ordinance is there. The ordinance says 5 years. The ordinance says this is the price. I understand. Well, you know what? If it's a problem, and we may change that map. I mean, this is the input that we get from the community. And I appreciate that. We will look at that. I've also got that input too from another person who lives the other side of Alabama that it needs to be wider. So we'll take a look at that. Yeah, so I mean that's the whole idea. The whole idea is that once we have the ordinance changed, then we can do it whenever we want to do it. And that's, the hard part is getting the city council to vote on changing the ordinance. The hard part is getting the city council to say, yeah, we're going to treat the downtown residents different than we treat everybody else.
Hi, I'm Marcia, and I live on the 7th Street on the 500 block. And we've had problems with parking. We have problems with parking yet? Closer? Kind of like a singer or something? Okay, we have parking problems from March till September. Every Tuesday night and all the weekends. So it's pretty pervasive in terms of how much parking on the street is a problem. Now for me, is 10 o'clock to 3 a.m. going to alleviate the parking problems that we have? Well, not necessarily that, but I understand why it's all being done. We're still going to be impacted during the days and on the weekends, etc. But my questions are particular to this, so just some clarification. So what I'm understanding here is that each residence will be entitled to 4 permits if you pay for those.
Correct.
Okay. And you also get 2 guest passes along with those permits.
Correct.
Okay. And are those guest passes permanent with no date expiration on it?
Yes.
Okay. Now, if you go online and you print off, number one, I would assume that when you go online, you have to be able to show some evidence that you're a resident to be able to even get the guest pass.
Yes.
But that's a particular that'll be worked out in the software, I assume. Okay, so the 24-hour guest pass that you print out online, is that going to be dated for a 24-hour period?
Yes.
Okay. And my last question is, if I have a relative coming to spend a week with me and they've driven in, am I going to have to, and I don't have, let's say my 2 guest passes I need for somebody else or something like that, am I going to have to go online every day to print out a new 24-hour guest pass so they can actually stay with me for that week?
Don't know.
Okay, well these are things that are a concern to me in terms of particulars.
4 passes and 2 guest passes. You got 6 passes.
A lot of people, right. Well, we've had a lot of guests for Thanksgiving time. We've had 10 spend the night, so. Okay, thanks.
Good evening. My name is Ben. We live at 9th and Walnut. Closer? Yeah. We live at 9th and Walnut, which is a corner house, a prime parking on both sides. the parking behavior for surfers at that area is they're frenetic and they are wild. In the past, we've even had some are so desperate after they've gone around the block 10 times that you can't find a place to park, pull into our driveway, lock the car, and run with their surfboards with our driveway blocked up. Part of my question is, since we own a double lot, are we treated any differently than a person that owns a single lot? You want to answer that first?
The answer is, it's per address. It goes per address.
All right. Okay. I'm concerned about the enforcement. Because these young bucks with their boards, they're very aggressive. And they'll give you the middle salute, and off they go. And I'm concerned about that.
The permit parking program that we're proposing is from 10 p.m. till 5 a.m. It's not perfect, guys. Doesn't solve all the problems. We have lots of problems downtown. It doesn't solve all the problems. The revenue that'll be generated from $61 tickets is going to be enforced. You see someone parking in your neighborhood that doesn't have a parking permit, you can call the police traffic department and you can have them ticketed. So this is not perfect. It's the best that we have. It works in 14 other parking zones in Huntington Beach, works in a lot of other cities. Before I let Richardson take the mic, I wanted to also let you know that Planning Commissioner and City Council candidate Mark Bixby has joined us. Mark, raise your hand so everyone can see you. Thank you, Mark. I wanted to let you hear something. Someone made a comment about summers and winters and so forth and so on. So I wanted you to hear something. December 28th, 2013. I've never recorded the mess that goes on downtown before. I decided to record this from my side window. Let's see if we can hear this.
I go to my house.
Come on, baby.
One of the worst ones that ever hear.
Well, isn't this one?
Hi, I'm Richardson Gray. I live on the 4th block of 6th Street downtown. And I first want to just thank you, Kim. You've done more for downtown residents than anybody could ever hope for. You've been just an outstanding leader. I don't really realize Kim has volunteered his time to do this for about 5 years now. I volunteered for about 4.5 years, but he's outlasted me. I've gone back to 1 day a week, but Kim is still doing it full time. I just can't thank him and the HBDRA enough for all that you've done for downtown. Even if this idea doesn't fly, you know, they came up with the idea, they put it out there, it's a reasonable thing to consider. There's no perfect process, there's no perfect anything. I gotta tell you, where I live on 6th Street, it is terrible. You know, we're gonna get our street dealt with, whether we're in the coastal zone, we'll get our block dealt with, whether it's through permit parking, meters, something. Because I can look at him a couple nights a week, this ruckus that Kim was gonna play on his iPhone, it's the worst experience I've ever heard. I've owned my home there for 7 years. I couldn't believe how bad it's been getting worse. I mean, Kim made the joke once to me, I should spend more money on soundproofing. Well, my answer is, if I spend more money on soundproofing, what do we do about the riots? Am I supposed to buy a gun? I mean, realistically, we've got to deal with the downtown problems, and I do think that some people have said over the years that I'm too aggressive. Well, if I'm too aggressive, we wouldn't have the riots. I mean, I think that the riots show that we really have to be more aggressive about downtown issues. I want to say, too, that I think that Mark Bixby and Dan Kalmick have been as good of friends of downtown as anybody in the Planning Commission. Mark Bixby's running for the City Council in November. Remember him at the ballot box. Joe Shaw is as good a friend on the City Council as anybody to downtown residents. He's up for re-election in November. Remember him at the ballot box. And my only question, really, Kim, is that I saw the $61 citation. That's a great rule. That's a good number as long as it's enforced. You have the meter maids out there, meter people out there. But I just want to make sure, it's an idea that we make sure that nobody gets towed, because towing is noisier than drunk. So it should be only citations and no towing. Because towing, if they come out there towing at 11 o'clock at night, then we didn't win the battle. Then we didn't get the money for the city. But anyway, I just want to thank him again. You've done a great job with this. I really appreciate having the meeting, everything you've done, and I'm going to vote for this, and I really hope that you guys will vote for it. I mean, I think it's going to be a good idea for downtown. I realize there are a lot of naysayers here, but I think overall it'll be a major positive for downtown, for our property values, for everything. So I really appreciate it, Kim. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Richardson. I wanted to mention also, this is where our board, I appreciate the kind words of Richardson, but, I want everyone to know that I don't do this by myself. I just happen to be the lead singer, so I get all the credit and I get all the blame. But we have a board of directors. Nothing happens without this board. We are a very, very active board. If you want to thank somebody for saving the Main Street Library and Triangle Park, it's not me, it's our board of directors. A wonderful, wonderful board. I appreciate Richardson very much as well. Stephen.
Yeah. If you all know me and my dad, Mark Stemmer, we live on 7th Street, the 500 block. My question is, like, my parents have Bible study groups over, and there's a max of like 15 people that come over, and we have our Bible study group. So I'm just curious for like people like them that don't live on the downtown, they live in, Magnolia and Atlanta. Can they go online and buy the permit? Is it their responsibility to buy the permits to come downtown and park near our streets to come and join for a dinner?
Let me ask you a question. Are they going to be there past 10 o'clock at night?
Right. Some of them may be there past 10 o'clock, or some of them may be there for 10 to 11
How often do you have those meetings?
At least once a month.
Okay, so once a month, your dad will go online and he'll print off 15 parking passes. And then when people come over, he'll give them the passes. They go out to your car and put the pass on your dash.
So then the money is put on us to buy for them.
There's no money. It's free.
All of them.
Parking passes are free. Right. But these are guest passes. They're online. They're free. As many as you want.
Okay. And then also my other question is, like he was saying about the patrolling. So are we going to have more meter maids that are walking around our streets?
Lots more. Lots more. It's a moneymaker for the city. Yeah. They're not going to pass by this opportunity. That's their commitment to us. And it's a great question to ask the chief when you come to the Meet the Chief event. Ask him that question.
Okay.
Hi. I rent on the 400 block of 7th Street, and before I came to the meeting, I was pretty for it. Quite frankly, now I'm somewhat indifferent. I think the times are just completely off. I understand his point that it can't be done because we can't stop beachgoers, but I believe that the normal people that aren't doing drugs are the ones paying and going to the parking lots. It's the people that are doing drugs and leaving a mess that are parking for free on our streets. So I just think it's pointless now, and because I rent, me being on 7th Street, that I don't have a choice. If I move out next year, I mean, I know it's only 26 bucks, but 26 bucks that I was forced to pay for something that I'm not, it's not gonna help.
And I guess I don't understand the premise of your question. You have people that are coming downtown that are drunk and doing drugs, and it's okay that they park on your street?
No, it's not. They're doing it during the day.
Okay, so they're not doing it at night. What street do you live on? Really? Okay, then you're one of those people that for some reason is not impacted. How many people on 7th Street do we have living in the audience? Okay, how many people, hold your hands up, how many people on 7th Street only would like to have residential permit parking?
Not from 10 to 5.
Understand? Well, you know what? Come stand in line and you can make your comment. I'd love to hear it.
I work late. I work crazy hours, so I've come home at, you name it, I've come home at that time. At 10 o'clock, I live on 400 blocks of 7th Street. I mean, I find parking. It's not a problem.
After 10.
After 10, before 10, I mean, you name it.
About 10 o'clock or come home at 2?
2, 3, I'm a tugboat captain, so I come home at 3. Yeah, but even at 10 or 9, it's at like 5, 6. I mean, that's when you guys got to do it. Yeah, 400 blocks of 7th Street. Yeah, thank you. I feel so as well. But because I rent, I mean, I know most of you guys probably own, and so I'm just a renter or whatever. I've rented for 5 years. I'm probably going to be there for a while. Eventually, I'd like to buy, but it's 26 bucks that I'm now forced to pay.
First of all, if you rent, there's an option. Your landlord can vote for you, in which case he then, I believe, would take the responsibility. I have an office downtown. We have parking passes. My landlord pays for it. She gives my employees parking passes so we can park. So as a renter, if your landlord doesn't want to get involved, renters will vote as well. So as a renter, you're not any discriminated against a homeowner. Renters will vote as well as homeowners. who's ever living at that address, but you've got an apartment complex that has 20 units, maybe the property owner wants to say, yep, you know what, I'm doing this, and I'm going to build it into the rent, I'm going to give it to them for free, you know, whatever the case may be. So,
Alright, I think a lot of really good points have been made tonight. I don't agree with this parking thing. But instead of being selfish and saying that, yeah, this is going to suck because we have 5 girls that live in our house, we don't want to have to keep printing all this stuff. Not to mention, I personally don't have a printer, so if anyone of you want to volunteer to let me use that for printing, great. But I think that we're making a problem to solve a problem. What happens when we forget to give one of our guests a pass and they end up paying 61 bucks? That's not fair. And not to mention, is this really going to make up the cost that we're going to lose revenues from Main Street because we're going to piss people off? I mean, at least the city needs to take those parking meters and make them free at 7 or something, so that people more park down on Main Street. Like, and what happens if I want to go to Main Street? Am I going to be forced to pay for the parking garage because I can't move down 3 streets? I don't want to walk home at night.
I'll walk you home.
Stephen Stemmer. Male escort. I want to address that for a moment, okay? And I'm sorry, you had a lot of things that you wanted to say. This is, you know, residential permit parking is pretty common. It's pretty common and it works in a lot of towns. So we're not inventing something new. We're not creating something new. You're going to have 2 hang tags if you want, 4 hang tags if you want, 2 permanent guest passes. So you really have enough, without going online and printing anything off, you have enough for 6 cars. The meters downtown are about 90 spots. The Downtown Task Force has made a recommendation to the City Council that they're going to cut those meters off at 9 p.m. so that people who come downtown can park there without having to feed the meter, so that we're not going to penalize the late night bar patrons. So you have 90 spots that are going to be open now for late night bar patrons to park downtown. But you got to understand.
How many people usually go to a bar? Like 90? You think 90 people fit all of them? By the way, I don't think so.
Well, I was addressing your issue that said maybe we ought to make the parking more accessible downtown with the meters.
They need to build another parking garage.
Okay, so let's talk about that. Let's just talk about that. Okay? No, I agree with you. I think they should build 5 more parking lots. Okay, I think the entire downtown should have underground parking. I think all these wonderful things, guys. This is not happening. Welcome back to the real. No offense to you, I'm sorry, but welcome back to the real world, guys. This is not a perfect solution. Speaking personally, and I try not to speak personally, because I try to be the president of the HBDRA and speak on behalf of the community. Speaking personally, I am tired of it. I am tired of the downtown bars making money at my expense. I'm tired of people parking in my neighborhood, waking me up at 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm tired of it. If I have to pay $26 for 5 years so we can have a parking program, and remember now, guys, I'm not going to get a parking pass. I'm in the coastal zone. But if I have to pay $26 for 5 years, $5 a year to get these drunks out of my neighborhoods. I'm not stepping in urine, I'm not stepping in human vomit, I'm not stepping in human feces, so I don't have people having sex outside of my yard. I don't have people ringing my doorbell at 3 o'clock in the morning, banging on my glass doors because they think their girlfriend is locked in my house. If I can get a decent night's sleep and not deal with all the trash, all the theft that goes on because of the late night bar patrons, I'm going to do it. Is it perfect? No. Guys, if you're not going to vote for this, good luck to you, because I'm telling you, 7th Street is done. 7th Street's going to happen. And when 7th Street happens, you're on your own for those people that live on 8th, and then you're on your own for those people that live in 9th. And by the way, when 7th Street happens, they're going to pay that $40 setup. The city's only going to adopt this if we as a community say, yes, this is what we want, and we got an overwhelming majority that says, yes, we don't want to pay the $40, we want to compromise with the city.
The original point I was making was that we're all kind of, I didn't want to do it from a selfish point of view, but I'm saying, what are we doing to the businesses downtown? They're going to lose a lot of revenue.
They don't bring that much in.
The downtown, no, I'm sorry. I'm absolutely sorry, okay? Absolutely unequivocally, this will have virtually no impact on the downtown late night bars. The downtown late night bars make a fortune. They make a fortune. And if we, and on a Saturday night during the summer, you have 3,000 downtown bar patrons that leave Main Street at 2 o'clock in the morning when all the doors are locked. They come and they start coming into the residential neighborhoods. So bottom line is, if we change that 3,000 to 2,700, and you've got 21 late night bars downtown, or whatever the number is today, it keeps changing, it's not going to have one iota of an impact on whether they survive or whether they don't survive. And if a downtown bar goes out of business for some reason, that's not such a bad thing. And that's also, by the way, an opportunity for redevelopment. We need to change the mix downtown. We have too many late night bars. We need to change the mix, make it more family friendly. So bottom line is, I don't want to sit there and say, I hope that the downtown bars go out of business, but people go out of business all the time. Every year, there's 2 bars that go out of business. Yeah. I'm trying. Okay. How do I wind this up when I got people that want to say something? You can't say anything, Joe. Wind up my speech. Great.
My name's Les. Live on 10th Street, 600 block. We've lived here for 12 years and have enjoyed it. Found that it's a good place to live. We don't think we need this parking, and the real cost that we'll get is the fine for having people parking.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, everybody. First of all, I want everybody to know that you have 2 different maps in the handouts. The borders are different. And he hasn't said anything yet, but it actually impacts me because the one border is Alabama and then the other border is Huntington. I happen to live on the border of Joliet in Alabama. And when I look at this map, I'm actually for the permit process. But I can't vote for this. And the reason why I can't vote for it is you're pushing the problem. You've adequately covered the people around 7th Street and downtown. But what you're going to do is you're going to push everybody to Alabama and Baltimore, Alabama and Detroit, Alabama and Elmira. And you're just pushing the problem to someone else's neighborhood. Congratulations, you'll be able to sleep at night to my detriment. I won't be able to sleep at night.
I will not be able to sleep at night.
Well, okay, so my point being is I think you would need, if you really wanted to work, because people can easily walk to Main Street, I think you need to go all the way to Golden West, and you need to go all the way to Beach Boulevard. If you really wanted to work, that's what I think. And to the young man in the back, you should never apologize for being a renter. You're just as much a citizen of this city as anybody else.
The reason that we have this community meeting is so that we can hear from people. So if the map needs to be adjusted, we'll adjust the map. Right now, what we're trying to do is trying to get a sense of whether people can vote for this program. We've encompassed a large area. The map is a I don't want to say it's a minor point, but the map can change. What we need to go to the city council with is this proposal about how we're going to spend the money and so forth and so on. If the map needs to change, the map can change.
Good evening, folks. My name is Mike Hay, and I'm actually a neighbor of the guy who just spoke. And I, too, am just off the border of where the cutoff will be on Alabama. And we would just like to ask HBDRA and everybody who's involved to just move it out a couple of streets, because if you look at it, it's really too far. It goes way off to the left, 5 times farther, and only 1 time farther to the right, and 6 times inland. So it's not balanced as it should be yet. And we will feel that impact because we're right on that border. So we're asking just to move it out to make it more equitable. And then I'd just like to make one plug also, like Richardson did. Mark Bixby and Joe Shaw truly are good friends to downtown residents, and they have our interests at heart. So write down Mark Bixby and Joe Shaw, and I hope you vote for them because they really care about the people.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Hello, my name is Chuck. I live on 11th and Walnut, and I'm on the corner. So my question is, since what side of the street is the coastal? Am I more towards the ocean? Or
Side of the street is the side that's towards the ocean, coastal.
Coastal side. Okay. So my question is, why doesn't the community or police department have more people in the evening patrolling?
on Wednesday, March 5th, we're having an opportunity to meet the police chief. Come to the meeting, ask him. He'll give you the answer. I don't know the answer. Come to the meeting and ask him. Joe.
Well, one more question. It's really funny that I see the police department citing people for parking in front of a fire hydrant that has been recently moved, probably about 3 years ago. And it's funny how they always come around to pick out that one fire hydrant in that area.
Thank
you. You guys ready for a bathroom break? I have a couple questions, Kim. Your plan has a lot of flaws that I see. Your plan has some flaws that I'd like you to address. Your 10 o'clock cutoff time, when the beach closes at 10 o'clock, and you're willing to give people access to the beach, but obviously not enough time to walk back from the beach to get to their car. Your permits are available online for free. So anybody who chooses can print up 15 permits and hand them out to whoever they see parking on the street. And so it doesn't alleviate the problem that you're trying to correct.
First of all, plan's not perfect. No plan is. 10 o'clock at night was designed to get rid of the late night bar patrons. Somebody's at the beach at 10 o'clock, you know what? Park someplace else. You know what? There's beach parking they can park at. There's 4 different parking lots downtown. They don't have to park in our neighborhood. So I'm more concerned, but I don't want to block beach parking. I'm talking about beach parking during the day. Millions of people. If someone's at the beach at 10 o'clock at night, lots of different parking for them. In terms of the free parking passes, I would hope that our city's going to monitor this, and I hope that if they see somebody that gets 15 this night, and 15 that night, and 15 next week, and they're going to investigate that and say, you know what, I think this guy's selling parking permits. Okay? You know, we have corruption. It's not a perfect system. More?
That's part of your problem. Now, you know what I do for a living? I sell houses. 2 of every 10 houses is going to sell on each block, which means there's going to be 16 unaccounted for permits out of each house every time somebody moves. Your parking enforcement is not going to sit there and look inside of every window to see if they have a valid permit, because there's no list of valid permits, because all permits are good for 5 years. So eventually, every house could have a potential of 64 permits as things sell. There's no accountability, there's no canceling them out, and there's no enforcement of an unused permit being used. There's no enforcement. So again, you're going to end up with full streets of all the people that left and are coming back to do all the things that you hate.
I got worse news for you. I'm in the printing business. I'm going to print up 10,000 of these parking permits and pass them out to all my friends. Joe, I don't know what to tell you. There's lots of problems with this. Yes, I guess that's the way it works. I don't know. When we leave our business and my employees leave the business, they take, first thing I ask for, I need your parking permit back. I get the parking permit back. I don't want to pay another $26 for a parking permit to park in the meters downtown. Not a perfect system, Joe, but it's the same system that's worked for tons of cities all around this country. You know, I don't know. Really? Let someone else talk, Joe.
So I have to say, based on the plan you're proposing, I have to say I'm against it. I am not against having permit parking, but I think that the plan needs to be revised before it's brought to City Council.
I don't know how the city handles that, but my guess is they've got 14 parking zones in the city. I guess that they probably have a way to handle that. Really? Okay. Yeah. What about the solution that says that the parking permit is tied into the vehicle? That they have a list of your vehicle? I don't know the answer to that.
My name is Elaine. I live on 9th Street in the 5th block. We've lived downtown for going on 28 years now, seen a lot of redevelopment and changes. The thing that we laugh about, my husband and I, which is not funny when we walk downtown and through the different streets, 5th Street, is that all the meters are there, and more than half of them, and this you're going to tell me to go to the meeting with the police chief, but most of the cars parked are already what's the word? Expired, yes. No tickets. There's no meter maids, there's no police giving parking tickets. Now, what in God's name are the police department gonna send meter maids out from 10 to 5 in the morning to give up and down, to go up and down? I don't see it. I don't think they have the money for it. We have had to call the police enough times for problems on our street with drunks and all, not because of the bars, but just because of parties and things. They don't even come for that. Why are they going to come? Or there's somebody that's parked that shouldn't be. I mean, even though I'm not for it, I know it's probably coming, but I don't see it working. I just don't see it working.
Well, let me ask you a question, ma'am. Let me ask you a question. So how many parking tickets do they give in the downtown area when meters expire? Well, you said that they don't enforce it.
Yeah, it was a record low last year.
Okay, got it. There are, the city generates $365,000 a year in parking citations from the downtown parking permits, from the downtown meters. So, although I understand that she walks by and doesn't see it, it's kind of an anecdotal kind of thing, I can tell you that it's a lot of money, tremendous amount of tickets that they issue, and, you know, come to the meeting and ask the chief. Mary, you're going to be the last speaker.
Hi, I'm Priscilla, and I live on 8th Street, so I'm a little concerned now with 7th Street being a definite. But I can't agree with the times. I have a problem with the time. What about, like she said before me, I can't see them giving out tickets at 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. And what about people that normally get home like 5 or 6 or 7 and there's no parking on your street? How does that solve your parking problem? And so as it stands right now, I'd have to say no. But so these ballots that we're filling out and marking now is just just to gauge interest, or? Okay, but you're going to get a lot of people that are voting no just because the time frame is not right.
Let me ask you a question. This is not about finding a parking space. If you can't find a parking space, I'm sorry, but it's not about finding a parking space. It's about getting the late night drunks out of our neighborhood. No, our program is not about finding a parking space. It's about getting a good night's sleep, not having to get up in the morning, okay, and have urine in your front yard and picking up empty bottles of booze. That's what our parking program is about. Not about finding a parking spot on your street.
Okay, I mean, I live on 8th Street, so I deal with that. You know, I've been woken up several times, but I can't say that it's every weekend even. But I'm really here to answer. I can't believe nobody asked this question. 2 of my good friends that could not be here at the meeting, so I'm asking this for them. They actually own a home, one on 7th Street and one right next to me on 8th Street, and they rent it. So is it going to be up to the property managers to get, and sometimes it's a weekend rental, sometimes it's a whole week, but you know, they rent the whole house. It's a vacation rental. How is that going to be handled? The out-of-state people have to print it, or the property managers, or who?
First of all, if they're renting their house for a week, they're in trouble with the city, number one, because we're not allowed to have short-term rentals in downtown. They're not allowed to have short-term rentals downtown, so number one, they're in trouble with the city and they'll get cited. Number two is, if I have a house and I'm renting it out, I'm going to take the responsibility to have parking permits. I'm going to pay for everything. I'm going to pay the $29. I'm going to give my guests that come in, and I'm going to give them the parking permits. You know, guys, and everybody, no offense, but these are all minor problems. These are all just logistic minor problems. It's who's going to pay the $29? Who's going to? What do I do when I have 4 people? I mean, these are really. No, I understand that. But what I'm saying was we're missing the big picture. The big picture is we have problems emanating. We've had negative impacts coming from the downtown late night bars into our neighborhood. So the question is, how do we fix that? And one of the easiest ways to fix it, that's worked in many, many neighborhoods, is get some residential parking permits so that the late night bar patrons cannot park in our neighborhoods. Does it solve every problem in the world? No. But it gets the late night bar patrons out of our neighborhood. It also, by the way, improves our property values. It also gets rid of some of the problems that we have in crime in downtown. And I'm sorry, I said Mary was the last one to speak. So I apologize, yes. So tell me what the problem is with 10 p.m.
I just don't think it's enforceable. Like, if no one is out there giving tickets, then people, you know, are just going to park there anyway.
You know, there's a lot of anecdotal stuff talking about the police not enforcing parking tickets. It's wrong. The police will enforce the parking tickets. The police will take care of business. They already do. They generate $365,000 a year in 2013 from 140 meters downtown, and they enforce it till 1:30 in the morning. They do this.
Then why do we have to pay?
Guys, I got the word. You're okay. Okay. You know what? If you want to say something, please come up. I apologize. Come up and stand in line. Mary Bodie.
My name is Mary Bodie, and I live on 7th Street, and we've lived there about 18 years. I love living on 7th Street. I love all the commotion and everything. The only thing I object to is people waking me up in the middle of the night. I don't like that. The other thing is the bars, the restaurants, the businesses make a ton of money from the businesses, and their waitresses park in front of my house, the patrons park in front of my house. Everybody associated with any kind of business downtown parks in front of my house. I don't see any of that revenue that they generate. And then the city of Huntington Beach, wow, they collect big bucks off of all these people that park in front of my house. And I gladly pay my property taxes, and I never fuss when they do park in front of my house. I understand I live at the beach by choice. However, I do think it would be very generous if the city of Huntington Beach did pay for our parking permits, and that in 5 years we were guaranteed they would not double, triple, or whatever the government does find necessary to do to us once they've got us hooked into this program. So I would just like to put that word in that, you know, they do make a ton of money off of us. We generously give up our front parking for them, and could they please just not charge us in 5 years? Because you know, in 5 years, you know they're going to need something new. The benefit packages are going to go up, or the this or the that, and it's going to cost us. So could we just not have to pay? Thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
I'm Tim. I live on 8th Street. We actually rented in at the Town Square condos before that, so we love it downtown. We love the bars. Actually, we don't have a problem with the bars. We don't have a problem with people going to the bars, but we do hate the people that wake us up at night. They trash our Town Square place. They break into cars in the parking structure there. They steal stuff out of our front yard, and they pull out our neighbor's bushes and throw trash in. So we were kind of for the parking permit process. But I don't understand why we have to pay for it. You keep mentioning the revenue for the $61 a ticket and pushing people to park downtown, or more people to park downtown and pay for those parking structures. So why isn't it free?
I think it should be free. I agree with you. I think we have a losing battle. I think if we go to the city council and we ask them to pay for the entire thing, I think it presents a problem to them. I think it presents two problems to them. It presents a problem that says, well, wait a minute, we have 14 other parking zones, okay, in the Huntington Beach. They all pay, and they pay the setup fee as well. Then I got people that live in Southeast Huntington Beach. They want to come downtown, and now you're telling me they can't park in the neighborhood because they don't have a parking permit, yet the city paid for it in full? So these are city streets, city paid for the parking permit program, and now people outside of downtown can't come to our streets. So there's some inherent problems in it. I agree with you. I think the city should pay for it all. They should pay us $5,000 a year bonus for all the crap that goes on. But the bottom line is, I've got to get the city council. We have to get the city council to vote yes. I don't think the city council is going to vote yes on a freebie. I think the city council will appreciate a compromise. They pay $40. We pay $29. I think that compromise they'll appreciate.
I'm sorry. 2023 My name is Vince. I live on 9th Street right now. I live downtown since 86. Since 86, I've lived downtown. I came to this meeting, I guess, because I thought it was like an overall parking permit issue, not just an attempt to get rid of problems downtown. I mean, the problems you're talking about were problems in '86 when I moved in. I mean, the problem is I understand you're trying to address an issue by coming at it from one direction, but the fundamental problem is the way the city lets development happen. Like if you look at Corona Del Mar. Corona Del Mar has bars. Manhattan Beach has bars. Hermosa has bars. I mean, the problem is that there isn't a problem in Manhattan Beach. There isn't a problem in Corona Del Mar. I mean, the problems are inherent with the way it's just super saturated with bars. I mean, I'm not against bars. I like to drink, but the problem has been the same since '86, and the city hasn't done anything about it. The city council hasn't done anything about it. So now we're in this situation where you have good intentions, and you seem like a really reasonable guy, but I'm not. But the problem seems to be that it's coming about it from, and you're trying to make an effort to actually accomplish a problem. I mean, solve a problem, but it isn't necessarily going to solve a problem. I mean, I could care less paying 2 cents a day. I mean, anybody in here that needs 25 bucks, come over and talk to me. I'll give you 25 bucks. I mean, the bottom line is this is not a lot of money. It's $5 a year. That problem is infinitesimal. The problem is it really going to solve the problem? That's really the issue. I mean, people want to solve the problem. I don't think that anybody here wants to not solve the problem, but I'm not sure that this is the solution. I think the city council has to address it. I mean, the city council has to address the fact that we're not trying to drive ourselves to become a Corona Del Mar. We're not trying to drive ourselves to become a Manhattan Beach. We're just trying to step one up by just kicking somebody into another neighborhood. And I think the mentality needs to change with the city council, not, I mean, and that's just my take on it.
I appreciate what you had to say, and I agree with a lot of what you had to say, and Mayor Pro Tem Shaw wants to say something, but bottom line is, I just want to deal with the problem as it exists today. We have a new city council coming in. Hopefully Joe Shaw will be reelected. We hope so, but I got to deal with the problem as it exists today. I can't say, well, you know what, they caused it, blah, blah. I just have to deal with it, and that's what we're trying to do.
Let me just give you a little political history. In 2010, I was elected, and Connie Boardman were elected. And part of the reason we were elected is because we told you that we cared about quality of life issues, and that we cared about downtown issues, that we cared about Southeast Huntington Beach issues, and that we cared about mobile home park issues. We do. At the last city council meeting, when we were talking about the styrofoam ban, and we're not going to debate that tonight, but someone from the Chamber of Commerce came to the city council and said, you want to ban all restaurants and bars downtown, which is not true. That's not what we're doing. But we have taken steps. I want the last speaker to listen. We have taken steps. We had to get a new city council to take even those small steps. Otherwise, we wouldn't be doing anything. You guys would still, what we're doing now is we've changed the zoning downtown. If a bar downtown wants to expand, they have to go by the new rules. The new rules will require them to stay open only until midnight. There's some other rules too. The Corner Bench restaurant came and asked us to allow them to serve beer and wine and alcohol. We said no. We're firm in saying no to more alcohol downtown. We are doing something. But the people at the chamber and the people that own the buildings downtown, they don't want these restrictions. They want to carry on with what's going on. So you have to remember when you vote for city council to vote for people who support changing the atmosphere downtown to one of a family-friendly atmosphere. So that your neighborhoods, your downtown neighborhood is treated as a neighborhood like any other neighborhood where if these things went on, they would be done away with. And I want to sincerely say to you, I don't know if the city council will pay for your residential parking permit. I don't know if you even want that. But in my personal opinion, together with the zoning changes we've made downtown, and that taking the step of doing residential parking will make a dent in what's going on. And we will watch and we will monitor it to make sure that it's really doing what we want. If not, we're going to take further steps. That I promise you.
Okay guys, seem to be no further questions. I wanted to remind you one more time that this is going to happen. It's going to happen on 7th Street. And I just hope that you're all prepared for it, because if it doesn't go with the HBDRA, it's going to basically go on an individual basis. We hope that you will vote for this so that we can get some action out of our city council. Thank you guys all for being here tonight. Appreciate it very much.